What up? This is Kakeruto, aka Coco. This is just going to be a little short video that I'm going to do covering the PlayStation 5 details and the specs and whatnot. You may have already known about what's out there already. We don't have an actual image of the PlayStation 5, but this is just my thoughts and opinion on what's been out there so far. I did do a little research, and we'll be talking about the interview that the PlayStation 4 lead system architect Mark Cerny spoke about with Wired, which is one of the websites that I got my information from. So let's dive right into it. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you already subscribed, go ahead and hit that like button. Anyways, let's get right into it. So we do know that the PlayStation 5 is going to be VR compatible. It is going to have PS4 backwards compatibility, and it's going to have SSDs. I am going to get into that in a little bit. So according to the interview that Mark Cerny had with Wired, they were pretty much saying that the PlayStation 5 is going to come sometime either this year or next year. We don't know what it looks like yet, but more than likely it's not going to be showcased on E3. More than likely it's going to have its own platform like Nintendo has, and probably mention something, if not showcase it there, but they probably will have a trailer or something indicating that this is pretty much coming up, but these are the specs of it and whatnot. So hopefully we see something like that this year. One of the main things that I did catch my eye is the fact that I like that it is backwards compatible. So now, a lot of us with the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4 Pro have been asking is, let's get a backwards compatible even software, something into that lets it be backwards compatible. But unfortunately the PS4 and the PS4 Pro do not have that. The only thing we have the closest to that is the subscription based PS Now, which is kind of lame if you don't you don't want to pay for another subscription. Me personally, I have a Gamefly, and imagine having to pay for that, having to pay for another service on the side for the PS Now. It kind of sucks. Yeah, you have to pay money. If you work, you can afford it, but at the same time, for those who can't afford it, it's kind of lame to have to pay for the service like the PS Now, and yet you still have all these games back from your previous console, which is the PS3, and you can't even play them. And that does not include even the previous games that are not in the library for you to play with. So it's a win-loss type of scenario. So it's a great thing that they're going to add a backwards compatible mode for the PlayStation 5. How that exactly is going to work, we don't know yet, but that's one of the most main features that caught my eye that I really do like, and hopefully it will work out. Now, in the interview with Cerny, they also mentioned that the transition from the PS4 for the PS5 is going to be a gentle one. What does that mean? It just means that they are going to continue to make games for the PS4 and the PS5. It will take a while until they actually stop making games for the PS4. So pretty much games like the Elder Scrolls 6, for example, just in my opinion, I think are going to be, they're going to design one specifically for the new generation for the PS5. But then again, they are going to have to make one that's going to be more downgraded for the PS4. So I think that's still going to be out there, and they're gonna probably take the same stance they had with the PS4 and the PS4 Pro. They're gonna have to make something that specifically caters to the new console, and at the same time make something else that, like I said, it downgrades to the previous console that's like the PS4 and whatnot. So that's gonna be interesting to see how they do that. But more and more than likely, they're probably going to have exclusives that are going to be only for the PS5, and they probably won't be ported to the PS4. I don't know if that's going to be something good for them, or it might be something bad. To me, if you're going to do something for the PS5, take advantage of the specs of it, and maybe it's just time to move on. That's just how it is. Now, the other things that they mentioned in the interview is that it is going to be housed. The housed specs inside of the PS5 is going to be an AMD chip that has a CPU based on the 3rd generation Ryzen. And what does that mean? For most of you guys that don't know about computer specs, this console is pretty much going to be leaning more towards it's going to have pretty much power generated cores that are pretty much going to be strong enough to run the system or the games even better than before. Obviously with upgrades, these 8 cores, what they're mentioning in the interview, of 7 nanometer Zen 2 microchips are going to pretty much power the way the games are going to be developed. Pretty much the transitions of how the games are played, loading screens is pretty much what I'm assuming is going to affect the way to, when you travel between games, like for example Red Dead Redemption, when you travel from one location to another, it does take a while for the data in the disk to load. So with these new enhancements are going to be done on the PS5, which is going to be CPU based, like I said, it's going to be amazing. It's going to make things much more faster, much more better, and it's going to look crisp. Getting to looking crisp, it also says they are going to support 8K. Most of you know there are TVs out there that are 4Ks, and if you don't have one, oh my god, the images are mind-blowing. So if you have a 24-inch screen and it's not even 4K, let's just say that, you're not gonna be able to enjoy the full power of the PS5. So what does this mean? More than likely, when that comes out, you're probably gonna have to save up a little bit more cash to get a good quality TV to be able to enjoy the actual PS5 and how it plays out and whatnot. So that's actually a great thing. And that pretty much just means that the resolution is going to be way better, and it's just depending on the TV that you have at this time being. I don't know about any TVs that support 8K. I'm pretty sure there are some out there, but they're probably like in the 2000s range or more, higher and whatnot. But if you do have a 4K TV already, I think your TV should be able to handle the power of the PS5, at least as far as how resolution, how the game looks, and how smooth it's gonna display and whatnot. So the graphics will be driven by a custom version of Radeon's Navi line. That means things are gonna be much more crisp, like I mentioned. Things are gonna look way better, and that's always a positive thing. We do know there are gonna be enhancements like this. We were expecting this, so the graphics will support ray tracing somewhat, something which is starting to become more popular in movies and video games. Although it is traditionally thought of as a lightning technique, Cerny in the interview says that these are implications beyond creating realistic movements. But we're getting close to that, and that's always a good thing. Obviously, you can't compare this to computer graphics, because computer graphics are always going to have, there's going to be mods for it. There's going to be different things to enhance the game to make it look more sharper, much better. But it's a great step forward, a leap forward in consoles like the PS5, and hopefully they end up improving or adding more graphic wise enhancements to the console, so that way we as a gamer get to enjoy it better. So further in the interview, they are talking that the AMD chip will enable 3D audio. That's another thing they spoke about. Audio is not one of my biggest concerns, but I like the fact that in the interview they did say that it will help have players be immersed much more deeper. They're saying that it's gonna be also affecting the way players who love virtual reality enjoy the game as well. Now, we don't know if the current PlayStation VR is going to be compatible with the PS5. He did say in the interview that he is trying to make it, he's going to try to find a way to at least make it compatible, but there may be a new version of the PlayStation VR that might be exclusive for the PS5, but who knows? It's Sony. We don't know what they're gonna have up their sleeve yet, so we're just gonna have to wait until they showcase what they have in stock and whatnot. So another thing that did catch my eye is the fact that it's not going to be digitally memory based only games. There is going to be a hard disk copy that you are going to be able to insert discs into this console, so that's always a good thing. A lot of people lean towards having a digital based consoles, but think about it this way: if your computer, for example, if you're playing on PC, gets corrupted, you're gonna lose all your memory and your data, unless you have the cloud. The cloud has been used for a while now. It's actually a great thing to back up your save files and whatnot in case your system does get corrupted. So getting back to what I was mentioning before, it's always a great thing that we actually are still going to have physical discs. We don't know if they're going to be the same format that we've always had, but it's a good thing. Like I said, they're still going to have PlayStation VR, and the audio is always going to be much more improved, so that's going to be a good thing. Also, according to Cerny, they said that Sony, he let the developers know that Sony knows that they want a solid state drives. These are the SSDs in the new hardware, as opposed to the slower equivalents used in the current consoles. So what does this mean? The SSDs are relatively prevalent now in laptops, and what Sony is bringing to the next PlayStation is described as being specialized for the hardware. So Cerny pretty much demonstrated the change in that, pretty much with the Spider-Man game, for example, how certain loading times took way faster time as opposed to the previous console, which is on the PS4. And yeah, there's like minor seconds, like 0.8 seconds in his interview, he said, that took to load and to move, and it just makes things much more quicker in layman's terms. everything pretty much runs much more smoother, and the hardware pretty much doesn't overheat, and you just get to move around the city much more quicker without affecting latency or the way the game plays and whatnot. So it just pretty much means that the hardware is capable of keeping up with the rendering requirements. That's pretty much it. Other than that, about the SSD, Sony said that the raw read speed is important, but so are the details of the I/O, which is the input-output mechanisms, and the software stack that we put on top of them. So PlayStation 4 Pro did a big leap when it came to that, but now the PlayStation 5 is going to have way better upgrades as opposed to that. So, you know, keep an eye out for that. It's going to be something great. And now, last but not least, before I end this video, we pretty much saw in the interview that they spoke about Death Stranding, and they said, what implications or plans does Death Stranding have, and how does it fit with the Sony PS5's plans? Now, they couldn't confirm anything, and Death Stranding is going to be one of those games that's going to be mind-blowing. Kojima's always going to have something good, so they weren't able to give us anything, not even a little tease, but they did say that they are in the works of having that game come to the PS5, so that already has been confirmed. But the way Sony made it seem is that they're keeping it a secret. So something mind-blowing definitely is going to come around the corner, and that's going to be really good. He didn't provide any details, but the next generation of gaming is going to be amazing, and it does look like it's in the right direction. So it's not going to be debuted, like I mentioned, at PlayStation's E3, but more than likely they'll have their own little showcase, hopefully at the PlayStation Experience event. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. And now, like I mentioned before, we don't know if it's going to be premiered sometime this year. I do know John Codera, who was Sony's head of PlayStation, mentioned that it will take about 3 years to prepare the next step for the PlayStation 5. Hopefully it doesn't take that long and we see the PlayStation 5 announced in less than that time. Hopefully 2019 at the end of this year, or early 2020, or at least the second quarter of 2020. So hopefully they do have another version that is a digital based only PlayStation 5 for those who don't like hard copies. But then again, like I said, all around the specs are looking promising. Everything looks to be in place in the right direction. I can't see this going wrong or being a flop. PlayStation, Sony has always come through and done what they have to do. So let me know what you think about the specs. Do you like the fact that it is backwards compatible, that it is 8K, that it does have more SSDs in it, that things are going to run much more smoother, that it has better cores? Do you like the fact that it's going to be, you know, non-all digital? And do you like the fact that you know, it's just going to have a lot of support for the PlayStation VR? A lot of things can happen from here until the PlayStation 5 comes out, but you let me know in the comment sections and let me know if you think it's worth it. They haven't mentioned anything about the price, but more than likely it will be around $500, $600, maybe more depending on what you get with the game, or the console, I should say. So yeah, let me know in the comment section what you think. If you would like to subscribe and hit the notification bell, go ahead and do so. It really does help out my channel a lot. Hit that like button, boys and girls. Again, this is Kakaroto, aka Coco, signing off. Stay tuned for more information on games and consoles news coming up in the future. Have a good one. Peace.